Greetings, 2021 digital NAMM dwellers. Hope you're doing well. Nick Reinhart here, talking about the new Bitmap Bitcrusher from Red Panda, one of my all-time favorite pedal companies. Um, we used to play on this thing, the Bitmap V1, and we all really liked it, and we all loved crushing those bits. But there was a few limitations to it, a couple things that you kind of stalled you out sometimes and was a little hard to wrap your head around. And all of those things, fortunately, were addressed in the new Bitmap V2. So let's get into it and see what it does. All right. First of all, let's talk about some of the crossover stuff from the old Bitmap. So mix knob. Okay, duh, it's a wet and dry mix. So first of all, let's start off by just diming the mix. We're not going to hear anything affected yet until we start crushing and sample rate reducing. All right, so let's tweak this bit depth, shall we? I mean, we're probably all thinking the same thing. That sounds like a gated fuzz crazy distortion or something. And that's pretty cool. That's probably the closest we've got from Red Panda to just the heavy, distorted sound is out of their Bitcrusher. So, I mean, you could forget everything else about this pedal and just use it for the gated dirt sound and you would be good. But fortunately, there's many other things to get into. All right, so now let's try doing some sample rate reduction. We'll return the crush to 0 so we can just hear what tweaking the frequency knob sounds like. Very classic, like really low, crappy sample rate. A McDonald's Happy Meal toy in like the 90s that had like a little button that you could play the sound out of might have like really low sample rate. So that's what this reminds me of. Also, 8-bitty, right? It's a bit crusher, so you're getting sort of like those 8-bit kind of Nintendo-y 80s sounds that you're familiar with. All right, let's keep reducing the sample rate and see where that takes us. That's probably a very unusable sound for 99% of guitar players. Maybe not 99%, maybe like 75%. There's probably a good 25 out of 100 people that would really like that sound. I'm one of them. Okay, so now let's bring back this crush. Start crushing again with the sample rate reduction. It's a good point to talk about the drive knob, which replaces the level knob on the original. Okay. It's the input gain, so it's going to help you from farting out when you're tweaking certain knobs. So, for instance, right now with our crush knob dimed, we're getting a nice wacky, insane sound. But check out what happens when you don't have the drive pumped like it is. Which, hey, that's not a bad sound. That's kind of cool. It's a little more staccato-y and maybe a little percussive. That's cool. I like that too. But I do think it's useful to have the drive dimed for stuff like that. It's a good sound. So we'll keep that going. Let's move on to the modulation stuff. So modulation is really similar as the V1, except now we have a dedicated depth knob. So let's see what happens when we start bringing up that depth knob. What do you suspect this second button might be doing on this bitmap? If you guessed tap tempo, you'd be just so correct. So, okay, this is a setting that I thought was really neat when I was in my modulated, super, super cranked depth setting. I like to bring the crush all the way out. So now you're going between your dry signal and your sample reduction sound, and it's almost got sort of a what do you call it? Side chaining. Remember in like the late 2000s, that was a really cool thing that everyone was doing. Well, it's back. It's back, baby. So it's the sort of a side chaining thing where it's kind of just got this weird like reverse pumping sound going. So check this out. It's cool, but it's a little messy sounding to my ear. So there's this neat thing that I've been doing where I'm kind of tuning the modulated sound using the frequency knob to match whatever note I kind of want to assign it to from the non-affected signal. So I'll show you what I mean by hear that? I'm playing an A, and all of a sudden I was able to find maybe that's like whatever that sample rate is at this particular setting kind of matches the note that I'm playing, an A. Let's talk about presets, because I have a really good preset that I was able to tune perfectly earlier. So let's see if how right I am about that. That sounds a little better to me. It's subtle, but I think it's a little closer. And I'm on the square wave setting, by the way, so it's just that really just like chunked out, modulated, really, really kind of hard edge to it. And I'll go through the other ones real quick too. Here's the triangle. So there's your triangle, back to the square. And then random. So, the old bitmap didn't have the tap tempo. So that is probably one of my favorite things about the updated version is like if you're playing with a drummer or to a click track or drum machine or any sort of, beat driven thing that you're working on, it's really nice to just be able to tap it out instead of like, ever so slightly like tweaking the rate knob of the old one, hoping that you can get close enough and then like, you kind of can't really get it and you give up on your idea. So having the tap tempo is really cool and useful. Next, let's move into this wave section. Okay, so what does wave mean? Red Panda has given us the option to fold waves and shape waves and send the wave through a window comparator. And there's like cool, like nerdy looking mathematical charts that you can look at that might make sense of that for you. One reference that makes sense to me is like early Nine Inch Nails stuff. Trent Reznor did a lot of sort of wave destruction, in a computer or weird hardware, not just like using a metal zone or whatever, a diamond metal zone with a noise gate after it. But actually what's happening is sort of this weird wave shaping distortion that involves the peaks of the waveform and then tweaking it and harmonic information and blah blah blah. It's more about it's the sound that you'll recognize. So let's see if we can get there. So the wave stuff is hidden beneath your modulation wave shapes. So the way you get there is you cycle through 1, 2, 3. Now you're in your wave messing with waves zone, and that's indicated by this little warning sign. Warning, warning, warning. You're about to tweak your waves. So the first one is wave folding distortion. So let's see what that sounds like. All right, so you want your drive cranked when you're messing with this as well. So it's a subtle thing, but you can feel it in the compression, and just kind of like the just way over the topness of it, of what you're actually like getting out of your guitar amp. Let's see. Let's go to the wave comparator. See if we can get something out of this. I can't explain what the window comparator is doing, so I'm going to literally read you what Kurt says. A window comparator lets the signal pass when it is within a certain range of amplitudes and sets it to 0 outside, similar to a noise gate, but working sample by sample. Okay, so it's kind of like a noise gate, right? And you can hear it once the samples start to tweak, then the gate, it sort of like closes. The gate closes, right? I mean, there's probably like a lot of neat things you can get if you really like sat around and tweak that for a while. My favorite would be the wave shaping, which would be next. So let's see here. In wave shaping, you can fully hear, I guess, the harmonic information shifting when you start to tweak the depth knob, which, by the way, I guess I should have mentioned this. The depth knob's kind of playing a different role here all of a sudden once we get into the wave stuff. Wave shaping uses a polynomial to introduce new harmonics. At lower settings, it gives a nice saturation, and at higher settings, it folds the signal. Okay. All right, the envelope section. So this knob here is going to be your envelope modulation amount, and then this is going to work together with the envelope destination switch. So you're going to be able to tweak your frequency stuff and then also your wet mix. So the way this works is I like to have the knob all the way up, just so you can really hear what's happening. And then over here, we're on your when you're on the frequency with the minus sign, you're going to decrease the sample rate reduction. And then when you're over here on the plus side, you'll increase the sample rate reduction. Here's without any of the envelope modulation. Here's with the envelope modulation. Okay, here's the decrease. So it gives, the attack like a lot of movement instead of just sort of the static blast of craziness. Just for some of the people at home, I'll pull back the mix a little bit just so we can hear some of the clean coming through. Let's see what this does. All right. I don't mind it. I don't mind the mix at 50%. Okay. I think that's a nice sound too. I take back what I said earlier. Probably a lot more usable for a lot of people. Okay. Subtle addition to the bitmap, but probably my favorite is the filter, this low pass filter, this guy right here. Now let me go to my preset that I had with this. Okay, so I've got a little expression pedal here assigned to open and close that filter, and just listen to the dimension that the filter takes us to. Let's adjust some of the sample rate stuff. So I love the filter. I can't imagine playing the new bitmap without an expression pedal plugged in, controlling the filter stuff. So good. I love a good low pass filter. Yes. So that wraps it up for the new bitmap V2. It's MIDI capable. You can plug this thing into a computer and tweak with the web editor, which is I'm always a little bit intimidated by web editors, and then whenever like the pedal manufacturer like holds my hand like I'm a little baby and walks me through it, I realize how amazing it is to just be able to sit there and like tweak with, your computer and a mouse. It's really really helpful. Okay, and here's the other thing. This is a beta version of the new bitmap, so it's quite possible that between right now when you're watching this video, and maybe when you have one in your hands, some things will have been adjusted or changed or added, or who knows. So keep that in mind. All right, allow me to recap the new bitmap from Red Panda. All of the bit crushing awesomeness of the original bitmap. Then you've got tap tempo, presets, filter, a drive knob, an envelope modulation section, MIDI, web editor. What else is there to say? You know? All right. Have fun. See ya.